Coming up, we have stories about getting woke up when you didn't need to be awake. Friends versus marriage, finding out your friends make fun of you. My daughter hates my mother-in-law. Laundry, cleaning the kitchen correctly, setting up a just-in-case fund to combat a prenup, making more money than your spouse. Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder with another Reddit story for you. This one is actually from the Dusty Thunder subreddit and is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Yelling at My Boyfriend for Waking Me Up When I Don't Need to Be Awake? For background, my boyfriend and I are both 29 and have lived together for 3 years. And this morning when I yelled at him, he told me to post the situation to Reddit. The whole time we've lived together, he's had this incredibly irritating need to wake me up when he wakes up, even when I don't need to be awake yet. He can fall asleep on a dime, but it usually takes me at least an hour to pass out. Melatonin gives me the worst nightmares, so that's a no-go. On top of that, I very frequently wake up a few times in the night. For the record, every time he sleeps, I let him sleep. It's Saturday and I woke up earlier than him. I just hang out quietly on my phone or go to the living room if I'm going to be any semblance of loud. He's taking a nap, lights are off. I make everyone be quiet and I leave him be because sleep is important. He has let me nap longer than 30 minutes, maybe 4 or 5 times. He says that he does this stuff because normal couples want to spend time together, but it feels like a control thing to me. He's very often out all weekend and some weeknights, which I don't mind at all because friendships are super important, but that shoots down the quality time narrative for me. I have 2 kids from a previous relationship that are 8 and 6. Both kids have strep throat right now, and one has scarlet fever on top of it. Damn. I currently also have strep. I have a constant headache, my throat and body hurt, and I am especially tired. Last night, he fell asleep at 12. I fell asleep at 1:30 and got up for the kids at 2:45 and 4. He gets up at 6:30 for work, and he woke me up at 7 for zero reason. Since he pulled this yesterday, waking me up to lock the door for him as he'd left his keys at work. I gave him my spare key the evening before so he could go to the gym. It was on the kitchen counter. I yelled, read sternly admonished, I can't physically yell right now, at him, asking what on earth he feels the need to wake me up for. Does he feel wronged having to be the only one awake? Why would you not care about the needs of your girlfriend? I don't get it. He gave me the normal couples blah, 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 and told me to post it here for judgment. Just for context, he works 8 to 5. I'm in college full-time and pursuing a separate certificate on top of that. He does not pay my bills or for anything my kids or I need, so it can't be resentment from that. All the chores that get done were done by me. He does start his own laundry and wash his own dishes most of the time, so it can't be that either. Pass your judgment upon us, oh Reddit. This is, there are layers to this, right? It's not just a one-time thing. And right now, specifically, it's an especially bad time for him to be doing this for you because sleep is that much more vital. You're not just dealing with sick kids, you yourself are sick, but this is a normal recurring thing anyway. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. We're going to say NTA for you here, Ope. NTA, and the question was, am I the astronaut for yelling at my boyfriend for waking me up when I don't need to be awake? You're not the astronaut for that. For several reasons. This being a recurring thing is obviously an issue that plays into it being an especially bad time for it right now. My fear here is that your boyfriend of 3 years just doesn't take your needs into consideration. His 3-foot world is the only world that exists here, and if he's awake, everybody should be awake. Why? Because he's awake. It's very much a toddler mentality, right? It's like everybody should be doing what I'm doing, or nobody's doing anything different than what I'm doing. Or it's like they play a role in my world and I need them to be awake and alert and playing that role in my world whenever I'm awake. It is extremely disrespectful in my opinion here. And not just it's not an accidental thing. That's the problem here is if he was just too noisy in the morning when he was getting ready, this would be an entirely different discussion, and it would be one that is probably fixable. This is somebody intentionally waking somebody up. That's an asshole thing to do, right? It's an asshole thing to do. How? Now, OP says, It feels like a control thing. Candy Thunder says, I love my alone time when I wake up before the rest of the house. And some people need that. I don't need that. I don't need that. Some people do. OP does, and he knows this. And we've had this discussion before. I think it came up in the very first podcast that we did with Stevie Wonder, and it was, if you have been told that there's a better way and you refuse to improve, or you refuse to acknowledge or pursue any kind of solutions, you're the asshole. Boyfriend is the asshole here. OP, I think you're approaching this with him, whatever you're doing to approach this with him, or however you're talking to him about this, he's almost taking it as like playful banter. He's like, oh, it's fine. Normal couples do this kind of thing because they want time together to communicate and stuff. He's not taking you seriously, which is another problem here. So either he hasn't received the message that this is extremely disrespectful to you and he's crossing a boundary. So if you want a solution here, if you want a solution that involves this relationship surviving and continuing, you're going to have to get serious with him and make sure that he understands that this is a boundary for you. Make sure that he understands that this is serious. It's not playful. It's not cute. It's not funny. This is not something that you respond in a joking tone to. This is serious, and it is going to, the path that this leads to is the destruction of our relationship. That's what you need to say. If this continues, we will end up not being together. Is that what you want? No? Okay. Then change that shit now. Because the next time we're having this conversation, I'm going to be more sleep deprived and I'm not going to be as kind as I'm being right now. There has to be at least the presentation of the eventuality of pain on the current path for him to change course. If he doesn't change course, come what may, he's been told what the consequences are. If he wants to save this relationship, and if he does love you, and if he does respect you, he'll change. He'll stop doing this. But you have to get serious with him, because right now it sounds like he's taking it as a joke. Like it's a playful thing. It's not that big of a deal. To him, it's not that big of a deal. So get serious and let him know where this path leads. If he is doing this intentionally right now, yeah, he's absolutely an ASCON 1. If he's not doing it seriously right now, he's still an ASCON 2 for doing it repeatedly, especially doing it right now when you and them are sick. You know what? For doing it right now, he's an ASCON 1. You've got strep. Both kids are sick. He's an ASCON 1 for doing that right now. And he needs to understand that this is what he is doing is the worst of the worst. For doing it over a period of time, even when you've spoken up about it, he's probably a 2 or a 1. This can be changed. He can fix this behavior, but he has to be the one to choose it. And you have to be the one to make sure that he understands that this is serious. I'd be interested to know if you have had other serious conversations. Like, what else have you had to get serious with him about? And did he take you seriously? Did that end up changing? This may be someone that just can't take people seriously. Could be. It could be. He's at a 1 right now. Seems like he doesn't care, which is bullshit, right? You know what I am going to give him? Good morning, brozo. Good morning. Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder again with another Reddit story for you. This one comes from AITAH and is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Asking My Wife Not to Hang Out with Her Friend Who Has a Different Lifestyle Than Us Because I'm Afraid of Losing Her? Throwaway account because I mostly use Reddit for work-related topics. Me, 37 male, and my wife, 35 female, have been married for 14 years. We met when we were both in college. She studied literature, I studied engineering, and was getting into tech. We were dating for 2 years when she got pregnant, and we decided to get married and start a family. We decided together that I would work and she would be a stay-at-home mom because it would be difficult for her to find a well-paying job with her major, and I was already starting to earn quite well. I've also always had a fairly conservative approach to family life, and I was so happy to be a sole provider. She always wanted to be a mom and was looking forward to being a stay-at-home mom. Right now, our children are 14 and 12 years old. I have a good job and my wife stays home taking care of the house. This arrangement has always suited her, but recently she has begun to mention that she feels a bit lonely and lacks friends, especially now that the kids are older and she has more time to herself. Indeed, our social life mostly consisted of meetings with my work colleagues and their wives, whom my wife can hardly call friends. That's why I was happy at first when my wife ran into her best friend from college, let's call her Anna. According to my wife, they got along so well as if they didn't have an almost 14-year-old break in contact. When my wife got pregnant, she drifted apart from her college friends. They started meeting for coffee quite often. When my wife returned from these meetings, she was overjoyed and excited and told me a lot about Anna. It was then that I began to worry. Yeah, I'm gonna red flag it. I'm red flagging OP here because coming back excited and happy was a red flag to him. That's a red flag for you, OP. We'll see where it goes. During the time my wife had no contact with her, Anna got her PhD in literature, started teaching at the university, and became the editor of one of the most important cultural magazines in our country. Her husband is an award-winning writer, apparently very well recognized. It's hard for me to say anything about this. I have no idea about literature. They earn well, do not have and do not want children, and basically lead a carefree lifestyle completely different than ours. They have lots of friends from their literary academic circle, consider these friends family, and go several times a week to various author meetings, galas, gallery openings, and God knows what else. From what I've gathered, they are also much more progressive and liberal than I am. For example, they divide all of their chores and bills 50-50, and they have a mixed gender group of friends. Anna is friends with men and her husband with women, which I always considered inappropriate in a serious relationship. Which is like generally? Just generally. Your wife is not allowed to have any male friends, and you're not allowed to have any female friends. Also, does OP like hand out questionnaires? He's like, you have to fill out this application in order to be friends with us. We have to have the same political leanings. We have to have the same interests, the same religious profiles. We have to have the same values. My wife invited Anna and her husband for dinner because she really wanted me to meet them. She hoped we would both start going to all these cultural events with them. They were very polite and respectful and didn't comment in any way on the differences in our lifestyles, but dinner was nevertheless quite tiresome for me as I don't have any common topics with them. While my wife knows that I don't share her passion for literature, just as she doesn't share my interest in technology. But this has never been an issue in our marriage. We traveled together, went on bike trips, went to our favorite restaurants and movies, etc. I didn't understand why she suddenly wanted this to change. Anna started taking my wife to some of the literary events organized by her magazine and also invited her to write a couple of reviews for a column she is running. She apparently sees great potential in my wife and appreciates her insight, which my wife accepted with great joy. I was torn. On the one hand, I was happy that my wife didn't feel alone and that she had something to do when the kids are at school with their friends. On the other hand, I was afraid that I was losing my wife, that she would turn into someone else under Anna's influence. I was also afraid that other men will hit on her at the events Anna invites her to, even though my wife repeats that all of Anna's friends know that she is married and a mother. They never cross any boundaries and always speak of her family with respect. I'm red flagging him again here. I finally told my wife that I was uncomfortable with her friendship with Anna, that I was afraid this relationship would change her for the worse, and that she would no longer care about our marriage and children. Wow. Quite the freaking leap there, isn't it? Yeah. I'm sorry. You're getting into like way too cultural of a crowd, and I'm afraid that's going to lead to you just leaving your family behind. I said that I can't forbid her to do anything, but that I would feel much better if she didn't go to all these events with Anna and if she didn't accept an offer to write reviews for her magazine. My wife said that the friendship with Anna is very important to her, that she had been feeling depressed lately, spending most of the day at home all alone, and that contact with people with whom she can talk about things she's passionate about has made her feel significantly better. I promised to her that I will work less and I will spend more time with her. I also repeated that I cannot forbid her to see Anna and friends, but that this friendship really makes me uncomfortable. She was sad, but understood me and said that she will stop spending time with Anna. Yesterday, I talked to my older brother, whose advice I always appreciate about this situation. He said that me and my wife married really young and that it's understandable that she might feel like she's missing out on things outside family life. He also said that the only way to make sure that my wife is with me because she really loves me and not because she's just stuck with me and has no other options is to give her the freedom to spend time with other people, even though it makes me uncomfortable. It really made me think and question my own behavior. I really don't want to be a person who limits my wife's freedom, but I also don't want to tempt fate in order to see if she really loves me. It would break my heart to lose her, and maybe deep inside, I feel like she would leave me if she had any other options. So I don't want her to have those options. I feel like shit. Am I the astronaut? Did we just meet the smallest man who ever lived? Is that what happened? Candy Thunder left us a note here. I'm going to read Candy Thunder's feedback here. Candy Thunder notes. If your wife loves you, she will be with you 100%. Your insecurities are getting the better of you. If she has given you no reason to believe she doesn't love you, then why are you borrowing trouble? Being a stay-at-home parent can be a lonely world. Let her enjoy herself without your insecurities getting in the way. She can be happy being your wife and also happy having a friend with common interest. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. She did everything correctly to reassure you that her relationship with her friend will not negatively affect your marriage. You are the one who is currently having a negative impact on your relationship. Get out of your own head and encourage your partner to chase her dreams that exist outside of being a stay-at-home parent. If you can't do this for her, then you don't deserve her. Because right now you are telling your wife that she can only be friends with people that you approve of. It's weird. Yeah. And in addition to that, like oh my gosh. Yeah, the amount of self-loathing going on with this guy. To have the theory in your mind that if your significant other ventures out into the world and discovers that there are other humans out there, they'll probably leave you because they'll discover they have other options and don't think like other than you. You've got a lot of work to do on you, OP. I will tell you right now with 100% certainty that 100% of the problem that you're experiencing here is you and is all up here. Candy Thunder said, get out of your own head. This is your insecurity controlling the narrative here and presenting worst case scenario here at the slightest hint of you losing control of your wife. And that's the biggest issue for me here is that in an attempt to pacify your own insecurities, you have become controlling. You're telling her who she can and can't hang out with. You're saying, I can't forbid you, but this really makes me uncomfortable. And yeah, I get it. You're explaining your feelings. We need to get into why you have those feelings. And if you have the feeling that if your wife goes out and hangs out with friends who you have no reason to believe are anything other than respectful, decent, kind human beings, that these friends are going to turn her into some kind of monster that's going to leave her family behind, and she's going to get hit on and like run off with the first guy that tells her she looks nice. You have a lot of shit going on in your head that needs to be addressed here. I feel bad for your wife, not just because of the control that you're exerting upon her right now, but the pressure of your happiness you have placed on her. You have placed 100% of the pressure of your happiness on her. You have to figure out how to be happy with yourself so this insecurity doesn't drive the boat, because it's going to drive it straight into the rocks. Your marriage is the boat. Just in case we need to dispel that out. I want to say this is an ask on one behavior. I don't think he realizes that it's an ask on one behavior, but it is. Your poor wife, man. Reconnecting with an old friend and finding a doorway into a world that she probably has always been fascinated by, but this friend has like the golden ticket to it and can get her connected easily into things that she's passionate about, and they excite her. And you're like, I'm really uncomfortable with your happiness because your happiness right now isn't coming from me. I'm uncomfortable with the fact that something outside of the sphere of my control or that I can even see is making you happy. Do you see how shitty that is? It's terrible. There needs to be individual therapy for you first, OP. I think you've got to get in there for probably, 6 months plus on your own to untangle the spaghetti mess that's going on. And then once you have a clear image of it, maybe getting both of you in there would be a great idea. But I do think you need to do some solo time here and figure it out. Right now, he believes that she's with him because he is hiding the fact that there are other men in the world from her. Candy Thunder says his insecurities did more damage than her becoming friends with Anna. Yeah, she was already friends with Anna. She just reconnected with her. And probably the most harmful part of this to me is that, OP, you asked her to decline the offer to write for a publication. She received an offer that would help propel her into a direction professionally, which I'm sure she's starving for right now because she's been a stay-at-home parent for a long time and now feels siloed, feels isolated. And the first lifeline that gets thrown her way, you're like, please don't. How selfish can you be? That's why you're at AskCon 1, because you completely chose yourself at every turn here to the detriment of your wife. It's supposed to be the other way around, right? You're supposed to put your partner first before yourself. You, OP, chose yourself at every turn, and that's why you're at AskCon 1. Be aware. Start doing some work to fix it. I don't believe that this was malicious. I don't believe that you were intentionally allowing your insecurities to drive the boat and controlling her here because you're some evil dude. I think your insecurities have taken the wheel. And if you want your relationship to survive the long haul, you have to figure out how to take the wheel back from your insecurities, back from the worst case scenario that's playing in your head on autopilot. You have to figure out how to take control and not let it make decisions for you. And Candy Thunder talks about this a lot. When you hear that voice in your head telling you these things, like if she goes out there and gets hit on, she's going to run away and leave her family behind. When you hear that voice in your head telling you those things, ask yourself, if this voice was a person outside of your body, would you be friends with that person? And I don't think you would be. Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder with yet another Reddit story for you. This one is from the AITA subreddit and is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Walking Out of the Bridal Salon When I Found Out My Friends Were Making Fun of Me Behind My Back? I have two friends, Gabby and Shelly. All three of us are 23, if that matters. We were roommates in college and stayed in the same city after graduation. While the three of us are close, I've always known that Gabby and Shelly are the closest. They have a really sweet friendship. Shelly is getting married. Gabby is the maid of honor, and I'm one of the bridesmaids. Over the weekend, I went with Shelly so she could look at wedding dresses. Gabby was supposed to come with us, but got called into work last minute. I helped Shelly pick out some dresses, then she went with the consultant to try them on. Shelly asked that I take pictures and videos on her phone to send to her mom and Gabby. I was getting the camera ready when a text from Gabby came through. I didn't mean to click on it and was instantly going to click back out when I saw one of my Instagram pictures and their private chat from earlier that morning. Both were making fun of me for the face I was making and my outfit choice. It didn't appear to be of very good nature. I admit curiosity got the best of me, so I searched my name in chat. I found multiple pictures that I, my boyfriend, or my mom have posted of myself, absolutely ripping them to shreds, ranging from selfies to pose shots to even a few baby pictures. They'd also make fun of me in general in terms of the way I talked, wore my hair, and the way I ate. This went back, as far as I could tell, at least a year. My heart broke. It all felt so juvenile and high school. While we all joke around, I would never do this to them, nor have they ever even tried to initiate those types of conversations with me about the other one-on-one. I was in tears. As someone who was bullied all through middle and high school, it just brought me back to a horrible place. I put the phone in Shelly's purse and brought it to another employee, telling her to tell Shelly that I had to go. I drove home and had a long cry. Shelly texted me by the time I made it home asking where I went. I said I was going home and we could talk later. When she did call a few hours later, she was understandably confused and hurt that I left. I told her what I found, explained that I only looked further because of the initial text that I accidentally saw. She went off on me for looking through her private text, and so those were none of my business. She also told me I shouldn't have left the store without saying anything. I said I didn't want to make a scene, but also knew that I couldn't fake being happy for her. Shelly told me the texts were all in good fun, and clearly she loves me because I'm going to be her bridesmaid. She added that I'm only hurt because I chose to read all of those texts. Later on, Gabby called to tell me that I invaded Shelly's privacy and hurt her by walking out. My boyfriend and mom think I did the right thing by walking out, but obviously they're a little biased. I just want some unbiased looks. Was I an asshole to look through the texts and then leave? Basically, all the comments on Reddit said, these people are not your friends, drop out of the wedding and go no contact, and absolutely, I agree. The question here is, am I the astronaut for walking out of the bridal salon when I found out my friends were making fun of me behind my back? Hell no. Hell no. You are being used by these people. If for nothing else, a punching bag. That's it. You're the third wheel in this structure, and you're there so that when they get bored, they have someone to kick to each other. And someone asking you to take pictures, handing you their phone, and then a text coming through that's about you. You're the asshole for looking at it, seeing that it was harmful. So then looking for context to see if this was an isolated incident or if it was worse because it was happening often, and it was happening often. You're the asshole for that. I love the tag team gaslighting here. I love how Shelly is like, you're the asshole. You shouldn't have looked in there. You made the choice. You're only hurt because you went looking for pain here. She didn't go looking for pain. She went for context. And I think that's a major distinction we need to make here. She did not go looking for more pain. She saw pain. You handed it to her. So she went to see if it was real or if it was an isolated thing. Shelly giving her that bullshit and then tagging Gabby in later on. And Gabby being like, you invaded her privacy. You should apologize. You're an asshole for walking out. Yeah, these are not your friends. These are people who gaslight you to keep you within a close enough proximity so that they can still kick you when they need to. They need someone to kick. Here's the funny part. This structure will exist with them no matter what. If you go no contact here, which I highly suggest doing, go no contact. It will take them less than 3 months to find a replacement because they cannot exist without having someone to kick. They will find a replacement. They will find another lackey to pull in there so that they can control them and make fun of them. It doesn't matter who it is. They just need someone. They need someone there so that they can be horrible people together because that's just who they are. Your friends are these. Also, your friends are these. We got some bizzo friends here. Candy Thunder says, these stories make me so sad. I have zero tolerance for people that do this to other people. Tearing someone apart for your own amusement is ASCON 1 behavior. Elise, that's like when someone gets caught cheating, they get mad that they found proof. Yeah, these are asshole people. These are evil people. There's no benefit to your life. All they do is harm. 0 is greater than -1. Remove the negative from the equation and your life, the sum of this equation, will be better. It will be a more positive life when you remove negative people. If these are your only 2 friends, 0 is better than -1. And you're, in this case, -2. You're sitting at a -2 right now. Just removing them from your life improves it by 2 life points. Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder with yet another Reddit story for you. This one comes from AITAH and is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Telling My Mother-in-Law That I Don't Want Her Here Because My Baby Hates Her? 26 female. I've been with my husband since we were 14 and we just had a baby 10 months ago. I have always gotten along with my mother-in-law. She's a very sweet woman who would literally take the shirt off her back to make sure I'm okay. I love this woman tremendously. But for whatever reason, every single time she has come over to see the baby, my daughter screams bloody murder the entire time she's here. She doesn't do this with anyone else, but literally the second my mother-in-law walks through the door and my daughter sees her, she is in my ear screaming, hyperventilating, and inconsolable. It's literally been like this since she was born. My mother-in-law first visited when she was 4 days old, and it was the same thing then. We have never been super cautious about having people over to see our daughter, but like I said, she's not like that with anyone else. Like some people, she just doesn't want touching her, but she never cries. My mother-in-law is the polar opposite. She has been able to successfully hold her once without her screaming, but it was when she was holding her face away from her, and my husband was entertaining her to keep her distracted. My mother-in-law comes over once a week, and honestly, I've just started completely dreading her coming here at all because I'm not kidding. My daughter screams the entire time, and sometimes my mother-in-law doesn't leave for a couple of hours. It's not fun for anyone involved. Well, she came here yesterday and my husband is starting to get irritated by the fact that our daughter refuses to warm up to his mother because she's been a huge part of our lives. So he suggested that she start coming here more often than she already does now to basically attempt to force the bond. I personally know it doesn't work like that. I mean, if the bond was going to happen right now, it would have already. She simply does not like my mother-in-law. I thought maybe it was the perfume my mother-in-law wore, so she stopped wearing the perfume, but that did nothing. I told her not to wear her jewelry to see if that helped, but again, that did nothing. I've even had her put her hair up, thinking my daughter was getting overwhelmed with not being able to see her face completely, and actually, that made it worse. I told her to stop baby talking to her, because she has a very high-pitched baby talk voice, but her normal voice didn't calm the baby either. And honestly, I've exhausted and fed up with trying. I don't think we should try. I think we need to let it go and let it form naturally. She will warm up to her eventually, but in her own time. But my husband is basically just not okay with it. All because my mom came here to see us for the first time last month. She lives in the UK and is traveling is hard to the US for her, and our daughter immediately loved her and didn't want her to set her down. So my husband felt slighted about it. And as I said, he wants his mom to come here more. Well, usually I don't mind when my mother-in-law stops by, but she came by unannounced this morning at 8:30, and I had just woken up with the baby. She had a long night, teething. I'm talking like 3 hours of sleep. She comes in and says that my husband told her to come over here and hang out for the day. She said she cleared her entire schedule to be there. I just kind of shook my head and said, I really don't want to deal with the baby screaming all day long. I wish you guys had run this by me. You know, I love having you here, but this whole let's force a bond bullshit is dragging me mentally. You guys should have asked me. She looked hurt and said, it's okay, sweetie, I can go. And she left a few minutes later. But now my husband is mad at me, insisting that this would have worked. Am I the ass-cannot? Top comment here, despite whatever the initial cry reaction to grandma was caused by, now it's probably happening because OP and or her husband are stressed out every time grandma comes, expecting another upsetting reaction. I feel bad for grandma. That'd be hard, being told, sorry, your granddaughter hates you, so you can't visit anymore. And it sounds like grandma has tried everything she can think of to try and fix it. If it's stressing OP out, then the baby is picking up on that. And it sounds like dad should have made an effort because it's his mom to do specific things that the baby loves with grandma around. Make that association that bath time or whatever the favorite thing is something grandma is part of. So favorite thing and grandma are linked. We had this baby. Navy Thunder was this. And it was super frustrating. I can tell you, there could be something that we don't know about, but I can tell you with 99.999% certainty based on experience here, you are making this worse, OP. And if you do what you're talking about doing right now, and you let it, you have mother-in-law not come over because your child does not like her, your 10-month-old just doesn't like her, the precedent you are setting for this child is not a great one, because anytime they don't like to do something, they know they're just going to scream every time. And then eventually, that thing will go away. Brushing teeth, brushing hair, getting a diaper changed, going to sleep, anything they don't like, scream. It may take 10 months. It'll go away. It's tough, but the process of going through letting them bond, and it's hard for them to bond with you around. And this is the problem, is that if you're there, this is probably going to happen. You've got to let them bond one-on-one for this to work. I'm not a professional child psychologist or anything, but we've gone through this. We've lived this, and it was difficult as hell. And kids can be incredibly stubborn, but they will figure it out. They will work it out. They will create a bond. And mother-in-law here, who's like the nicest grandma on the planet, handles this with all the grace of a freaking angel, just like obviously hasn't done anything to make this child react that way because it started at 4 days old. It's whatever automatic reaction there was is still happening. And yeah, they're feeding off of your stress. The baby is feeding off of your stress right now because you're anticipating it. So you're already worked up, and they can feel that. They can definitely feel that. And you wanting to give up, you're going to regret. You would you would deeply regret doing this. Now, I do agree they should have run this by you before she just randomly dropped by. That lack of communication sucks. Hubby is an asshole for doing that to you, especially when you got like 3 hours of sleep. Like, that was a dick move. It was a dick move. However, if you were to say, Grandma, we don't want you here because my baby hates you, and tell her to just stop coming over, and not have your child get used to her being around, and not break the barrier for whatever is causing this right now, you will regret it. And if you do the work right now, the pain that you're going to experience to make this happen is going to be great, but it's going to be finite. You're going to go through a limited amount of pain. You've already endured more pain than you're going to go through making this happen. But she's not going to bond with her with you guys around, because she's always going to have you as a backup. She can cry because she thinks you're going to hand her over and leave. She can cry to come back into your arms. She can cry And grandma ends up leaving eventually, being shooed away because mom can't deal with crying. Like it's a dangerous precedent. Yeah, and yeah, Navy did this to both of our moms, who gave, there was no reason for it. Navy was just, she was a mommy and daddy's girl, it still is, but kids prefer their parents, obviously. Navy did this hardcore. Like, you would have thought something was wrong. She's just stubborn and reacts wildly. And we pushed through it and did the work. And she loves spending time with her grandmas one-on-one now. Loves it and does it multiple times per week. And it's amazing. Getting through this and letting them bond one-on-one without you around, which it does not sound like you have attempted yet, is step one. And you have to be consistent with it. You have to commit to getting through that. Dobby Potter, it's like letting them cry in bed to learn to self-soothe and not running into them. Self-soothing is an extremely important skill that kids don't just come out and know. They have to learn that behavior. Now, obviously, everybody has a different opinion based on life experiences, and we have our opinion based on ours. And our experience with Navy gave us, I think, a filter with a lot of context, a lot of similar context to be able to see the situation through. And I can tell you from our experience, when you commit to letting them bond one-on-one, that's when you'll start to see an improvement here. And it will be painful. The first few times are going to be extremely painful, but it will get better. So the question, am I the astronaut for telling my mother-in-law that I don't want her here because my baby hates her? Yeah, I think you're probably an asshole for that. How big an asshole is you? Yeah, this is one of those things where I understand the stress that you're going through, and it's not something that I understand why you're making the decisions that you're making. I can tell you though that this is something that you should do differently. I don't think you're an asshole for this. I just think it's something that you should do differently. There are other options here, and I think if you look at the long term here, you're taking the morphine approach. Your morphine approach right now is what can make my pain go away quickly, because my pain is associated with her crying, right? You're choosing to for the short term eliminate your pain. You're going to have to start thinking long term here. Think about long term pain and start a plan to put that to bed. Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder with another Reddit story for you. This one is from the AITA subreddit and is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Ignoring Our Daughter's Inconvenient Boundary? My wife, 39 female, and I, 36 female, have a daughter. Technically my stepdaughter, but I've raised her since she was 5, 19 female, from a previous relationship of my wife's. Her father is not in the picture, who has come back home after her first year at uni. She picked up a new and problematic issue since she was last home for an extended period of time surrounding laundry. Basically, she has established a boundary where no one is to touch her clothes. Her reasoning is that she's concerned something will go missing or get damaged. Thinks it's just gross for us to go through her stuff, and is an adult who deserves privacy. All fine, we have 3 young children in our home, 9 female, and 2 male, so plenty of washing to keep us entertained. The issue here is that she has a habit of monopolizing washing facilities to the extent where we're effectively prevented from being able to get any other laundry done. For example, last weekend, she put a wash in before work and hung it out on the line around 11 a.m. She then left for work 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. Her wash was dry within an hour. And obviously she wasn't going to be back all day. We had a few days worth of washing to get through, so my wife, her mom, took everything off the line and folded it. We got through 5 other loads that day. She was not happy when she got home and said that she'd been very clear that we weren't to touch her things. When we explained the situation above, she said it was first come, first served. Not something we've ever said, and that since the next day was due to be so nice also, we should have just waited to get through it the next day. That really pissed us off. We've offered her a weekly laundry day where we'll avoid using machines so she can have freedom to do as she pleases on that day, but she said once a week won't cut it. Fair enough, but there are 5 other people in the house and they need clean clothes, bedding, and towels. Other than that, all we can really suggest is that she keeps on top of her washing. If she's at home, we'll ask her to clean out her clothes from the machine, dryer, or washing line as needed. But like any other 19-year-old, she has a social life and work commitments and is often busy. She's upset because she says we're not respecting her boundaries. Whereas we've pointed out that while "don't move my clothes" is objectively reasonable, it's not fair for her to do so at the inconvenience of everyone else in our home. Essentially, the last conversation we had ended up with her in tears because we said as long as situations like Saturday keep occurring, we'll continue to move her stuff. Just FYI, we do fold her clothes carefully and leave them in a basket in a communal living area so they're kept together in good condition, and we're not going in and out of her room. We normally have a good relationship with her, so this is all a bit unusual. We've asked her if everything else is okay, and she says yes and seems otherwise normal in and of herself, and she's normally reasonable, so are we being unreasonable? There are edits, but let's talk about this for a second. Yeah. My first thought here is if you're not paying the mortgage and the utilities, you don't get to make the rules. You certainly don't get to impose a new set of rules upon the household, upon everyone else. When your boundaries start harming others, those aren't personal boundaries anymore. That's just control. You don't like it? Go do your damn laundry at a laundromat. You don't get to control it for everybody else. And if you're going to leave it, if you're going to leave it and not remove it in a timely manner, then come what may. You don't get to bitch about it. If you bitch about it enough times, you get to just not do your laundry here, period. She is unwilling to compromise here at all. They have offered an olive branch here. They have given her a proposed day to have total control. And she said, that's not good enough. Okay, well. Candy Thunder says, who here would be offended by someone folding your laundry? Would you be offended by someone folding your laundry? Allie, I think the same thing. Feel like she's lost stuff at college and it's transferring over to her home life. We have an edit. I think we're all in agreement that that teenage daughter here is being unreasonable. There's probably a reason for it, but she's trying to impose her will onto the household here. Here's the edit. So the consensus is pretty much that we're right, and our daughter is being massively unreasonable, and that we're being pushovers for not being tougher on her from the off. We've shown her the comments, and unfortunately, she's still insisting that we're the unreasonable ones. We've never considered the local laundromat, and have banned her from using our washing machine for the next fortnight until she's... for the next fortnight, given she's still unwilling to adjust. She's absolutely furious, and wife has ordered a lock for the washroom door to enforce the 2-week rule. Hopefully a couple of weeks hauling her stuff to and from will help her see the light. Thanks very much, all. After reading all of the comments, she's like, no, you guys are still wrong. She's not the baby either. She's not the baby of the family. Like, but I don't know. All their other kids are younger, right? So she was from a, yeah, okay, I got it. Something happened. Something had to happen here. All right, here we go. Another edit 2. A slightly calmer update this morning. Our daughter came to talk to us and apologize for the situation. She said that she had found the transition back home hard, I get that, and had maybe become a bit territorial over her stuff while at uni. You don't say. All okay. She then asked if she could please have a laundry day and be allowed to use the machine. Her place of work is closed Mondays, so that's now her day. And we've said that she can use the machine on other days, but if by 7 a.m. Tuesday there's anything in the way or any issues on other days, we'll be moving her stuff. A genuine sorry goes a long way with us, and while the advice has been to hold firm, we don't really want an issue if the situation can be resolved calmly. We've also made it clear that if her things do have to be moved on any day other than Monday, which is totally hers, and we get any grief about it, we'll go back to a 2-week ban and there's no going back. Maybe a less satisfying update than the last one, but we're happy we can resolve the problem calmly. She did mention she'd read through some of the comments last night, so thank you to everyone who weighed in. Okay. Hey, you know what? That's right, Chelsea. Pain creates change. Pain creates change. And it did not take much for this to create some change, which is great. They were able to solve their problem by communicating, and they were going to be firm if they had to be, but she brought the olive branch back to them and said, okay, I get it now. And I will accept your offer of a devoted day. I like that they are willing to resolve it with that and retain that offer with her, but backed it up and have a byline in there or have an amendment to this agreement that says if any bullshit happens, we hear any grief about anything, it's going to be a 2-week ban every time that bullshit happens. I like how they've created consequences for violating the agreement, basically. They've have consequences in place now. They now have a firm boundary that is a boundary because there are consequences for crossing it. A boundary without consequences is just like a, do me a favor. Do me a favor. It's a preference. A boundary without a consequence is just a preference. Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder again with another story from Reddit for you. This one is from the AITA subreddit and is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Making My Sister-in-Law Pay for a Professional Cleaning Service After She Cooked in My Kitchen? Last week, I invited my sister-in-law, who loves cooking, to stay with us. She offered to cook dinner as a way to show her gratitude. However, I have a meticulously organized and spotless kitchen due to my severe anxiety around mess and disorder, something that my family is well aware of. Despite this, after she cooked, the kitchen was left in what I would consider a disastrous state. Spills on the counter, pots not cleaned properly, and utensils misplaced. It took me hours just to calm down after seeing the mess. The next day, I calmly explained how distressed it made me feel and asked if she could cover the cost of a professional cleaning service to restore it to its original condition. She was shocked and upset by my request, arguing that she had already contributed by buying groceries and spending her evening cooking for us. My husband thinks I was too harsh and should have cleaned it myself or let it go this time. This has caused tension between us and his sister. So, Reddit, am I the astronaut for insisting she pays for the cleaning service, knowing my issues with anxiety and cleanliness? Top comment, you're the asshole. Knowing your issues with anxiety and cleanliness, you need to take steps to manage those issues, like booking an extra therapy session, not letting people cook in your kitchen if it's going to send you into a tailspin, being clear about your expectations for how you would like things to be cleaned up afterwards, or helping to clean up so that you can make sure things get put away where you'd like them to be. If she cleaned up to a normal person's reasonable standards, then this is your issue, and you need to own it and not ask her to pay for a cleaning service. If you really feel you need that, pay for it yourself, although I doubt they would be up to your standards either. Damn good point. Thank her for the dinner and maybe have her cook for you at her place next time. I'm still wondering why OP didn't help to offer to clean the kitchen after sister-in-law bought the groceries and cooked the meal. If I was sister-in-law, I'd be done with that relationship. OP, your mental health challenges are not your fault, but you are responsible for how you handle them. You're the asshole. Spoken very, very well here. I think it's interesting that OP here says that they know my anxiety with cleanliness, so they should have done X. What, just automatically known your methods for everything and exactly where all the shit is supposed to go? Like, somebody coming else and using your kitchen is always going to create a little bit of disarray. And a professional cleaning service isn't going to be able to read your mind either. So unless you have a binder that explains your processes and your rules, which would be a very Monica Geller thing to do, right? Unless you have a binder that gives specific instructions or are there to instruct, you cannot expect people to be able to read your mind and to do exactly what you would do. That's the real issue here, is somebody didn't do what you would do in your space, and that's hard for you. But it wasn't clearly communicated at a time. There were no clear expectations set, so your expectations are your own. And if it made you uncomfortable, agreed with the top comment here, it's on you to either jump in and clean it up to your standards or clean it with her so that you can make sure it's getting done, or pay for a professional cleaning service yourself, because this is a you problem. I do agree with the commenter, though. I don't think a professional cleaning service is going to be up to your standards. I think you would be just as disgruntled by them as you are with your sister-in-law. And I think it was extremely disrespectful to ask her to pay for a professional cleaning service because her cleaning wasn't up to your anxiety standards after she had paid for groceries to make you dinner and made you dinner and still cleaned up the kitchen, just not to your standards. I think it is extremely disrespectful. And you are an asshole. How big of an asshole are you? It was cleaned up, though. I don't think there's anything, spills on the counter, pots not cleaned properly. Okay, so if it was truly messy, I think that's one thing. But spills on the counter, I'm imagining as like a dot. 2 dots maybe, pots not cleaned properly, utensils misplaced. Because OP is explaining to us how much anxiety they have about things not being done exactly their way, I think the disastrous state here is very minimal in my mind. If it is truly like a massive mess, one of the clues here that points me in that direction is pots not cleaned properly and utensils misplaced. When she said spills on the counter, I'm like, okay, like this could be a big mess, and she just didn't clean up anything. Then reading pots not cleaned properly, I'm like, okay, she did clean. She just didn't clean the way that OP wanted her to. And then utensils misplaced. I'm like, yeah, confirmed. It is just not the way that OP wanted her. You wouldn't put the utensils back until after you had cleaned them. So she cleaned those as well. So the question was, am I the astronaut for making my sister-in-law pay for a professional cleaning service after she cooked in my kitchen? That's not what really happened. If you did make her pay for that, yeah, I think you would definitely be an asshole. I think it's a definitely shouldn't have done it. It might be a 1. You might be a 1 for this, but I think you're being driven by your own anxiety right now, but that's a you problem. Like I explained earlier with the laundry thing, I jump in and do laundry because it's a me problem, and it feels good to me to have it done. You, the kitchen cleaned up to your standards, feels good to you. I wouldn't expect other people, if they jumped in and did a lot of laundry, to do things to my processes or standards. I think you're imposing that on someone else. It is very, very similar to our laundry story here. It's imposing your isms onto someone else. So it's not a boundary. That's not a boundary anymore. It is just a conquest. Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder with yet another Reddit story for you from the AITA subreddit titled, Am I the astronaut for telling my wife's friends I make more money than her? I, 25 male, am married to my wife, Sasha, 28 female. She comes from a pretty wealthy background, while I decidedly do not. My dad left before I was born, and my mom died when I was 11. I've mostly gotten over it, as much as one can get over something like that. However, I'm still sensitive on any so-called jokes on that. Why would someone joke around about that? That's terrible. I graduated summa cum laude, went straight into investment banking. I met my wife when I was 23 and fresh into it, but after 3 years, I earned pretty well. My wife is a lawyer. Now, I love my wife and she loves me, obviously, but her family hates me. Like from the depths of their souls, hates me. I've been called a gold digger, a lowlife, and a few more vague insults on my table manners. I went to a party with her the other day, one of those fancy schmancy things where everyone drinks champagne and complains about this and that and the other, talking about, oh, we spent so much money on renovations. Clutches pearls. And I got the usual mild comments from wife's family and close friends on where my wife picked me up from. Lacey, I don't think, knew about my family history before. We were talking about dads, don't ask me why, and I got a question on what my dad did. I said I didn't know, never met the guy. Lacey kind of made this exaggerated gasp and went, oh, well, we all know why you're with her, my wife's name, then don't we? I acted all confused and she got flustered and just kept going with, well, you know. My wife tried to move on the conversation along, but by this point I wasn't letting it go. I kept pushing and pushing until Lacey finally said, well, you two don't exactly have the same finances, do you? And then responded with, you're right. I make quite some more. Lacey by this point was too embarrassed to keep going. I kind of ruined the vibe, but the night continued. This isn't the kind of event you walk away from. We went home, which was when shit genuinely went down. She told me it was crazy of me to keep pushing on that point and turn one comment in one of the most embarrassing moments of her life, and now everyone in her circle must think she's some kind of failure to earn so much less than her husband, and I'd ruined everything. What? But it's not like I lied. I'm just tired of being treated like shit in her circle. My wife is upset, and I do care about her, so I need to know. Am I the astronaut? Top comment here. But she was perfectly fine letting everyone in her life think that you were a failure that lives off of her. She's also apparently perfectly fine letting them mock or insult you, the man she allegedly loves. Why is her image more important than your dignity and the respect for your marriage? A person can earn less than their wealthy partner and still be with them out of love, and she is allowing that to be questioned. NTA, both her and her circle sound vain, materialistic, and classist. And I'm afraid those traits are going to be hard to change. Yeah. NTA for you, OP. This is, if by the title, I think this is one of those that by the title, you feel very differently than you do when you get through the story. Because by the title, it's like, why the hell would you be flaunting that around? Like, it's just one of the things that's not done. It's just not the done thing, mate. But you were kind of goaded there. You were prompted there because someone made a statement to the opposite. Someone made a statement that you were a pauper with the princess. She totally had you teed up as Aladdin, dude. She's presented you as like her charity project, apparently, to all of her friends and family. And they had no idea that you could stand on your own 2 feet, apparently, and had no idea what you do for a living, apparently, because as an investment banker, you would assume that they make decent money, right? But she comes from money. This is where the difference is. You make good money. You make more than she makes right now, but she comes from old money. So she has generational wealth, and maybe that's what they're talking about here. Yes, it's vain and it's shitty and it's materialistic, and her friends and her family sound terrible. Very judgy. Judgy, nuts and fudgy. For what your partner here did, and creating this narrative and then getting pissed at you for opposing it because she was perfectly fine to let everybody treat you like shit. How dare you stand up for yourself? How dare you stand up for yourself to my family and friends who are old money? Hey, Dusty Thunder here, and I wanted to thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed that content, and if you did, please make sure to like, subscribe, and most importantly, share. Also, you can find swag and so much more at dusty-thunder.com, and you'll find even more content on all of our platforms. We're on TikTok, YouTube. We now have an official Facebook page that we'll be posting stories to as well. We have podcasts on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and so much more. You can see all of our content platforms on Linktree, which is linked in my bio. Engage with us wherever you're enjoying content and do your best to avoid the Askonauts today. Thanks again.